So we're going to start off today looking at some daily charts. And I happen to have CL up here today because I saw something last night that I wanted to make you aware of. And kind of go through the thought process with you. So a few weeks back we focused on a pattern here that I've highlighted with the two rectangular boxes. We called it the puking llama pattern. You can go back and watch those if you're curious as to the why of that pattern. But inside of that pattern now, you'll see there are sort of two circles, and I want to focus our attention on those two circles and get a sense for what CL might do next based off of our position in the pattern. And so just to review here pretty quickly anyway, we had a pattern that we were watching for that started out with phase 4 at the bottom leg. You can see that large red dot pushing down. Then we sort of move up into what I call the llama hump. Then we move back down into the front leg, which was a phase 2 pattern. Then we had a period of consolidation, what I would call the llama body, up to the base of the neck, which was another phase 4. Another phase 4 where I have the letter B. It breaks through the phase 4 predictive signal into the first ear, the ear of the llama at C. And the ear of the llama was C right here. Then it kind of consolidates inside of that box. Normally we were expecting a stop run, a push up into E, but here E just drops out and the bottom fell out of E. But we dropped out, and then the llama pukes, and that's this circle part. It just vomits out the price down into a lower low for crude. So all of this stuff happens back in September and October of the prior year. And here we are, June, July, August, September, and that same confluence of time and price action is it's here. Now, where we go from here, will the pattern be an exact copy of what we had, or will it be a facsimile, have similarities, but be a little bit different? So one of the things I want to show you real quick is that if you take this square over here on the left hand side and we just measure the whole height of that move, right, to get a sense for how big was this pattern over here in September and October of last year. One of the things you'll notice is that, Tim, if I come over here and I drag it over to this box, can you notice that visually anyway, this pattern is the same size as this pattern over here? So the overall height of llama number 1 is the same overall height of llama number 2. And so that gives us actually some pretty awesome stuff to work with now, because I can also measure some things. So for example, where are we by the phase 4 up here? So this drop down right after the letter E, where we are in sort of the F part of the pattern. If I copy that and push it over to the right, can everybody see where we are? I'll actually make This one a little different color. There we go. That skinny blue line right there. In terms of where the time was, is where we are. So the geometry of the patterns lines up, but that's not really why I want to drill down on this pattern. I want to show you some things in relation to something I was observing this morning. So if you look over on the left, look at the sequence of candles. Ready? Again, this is back in September, October, November of last year, but check this mojo out. I'll take this rectangle and we'll just pull it over here to the right. We don't need this green circle here right now. There's a phase 4 pattern right here, large red dot, that we were waiting on, predictive, the whole 9 yards, right? But now, the very next day after the phase 4 pattern, we have this interesting candle right here. How would you describe that candle? This guy right here. If you had to describe it to somebody. Spinning top, doji. Okay, so we have a phase 4. We have a large drop down out of the phase 4. And then, Larry, what appears to be an uncertainty candle, an exhaustion candle, right? So there are 3 components here back in the first version of the llama pattern, right? Red dot, big drop down, spinning top. Okay, well, let's take a look at something here. Over on this iteration of the pattern, see if you don't see something here that I think is really interesting. We have a phase 4, Derek. We have a big drop down. Now, Marco Polo, how many of you see any similarity to that spinning top candle after the phase 4 and this one right here? From yesterday. Let's scrunch up the screen real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the phase 4. Whoops. We'll come over here and we'll connect them, right? And then the very next day, we have a narrow range candle that has a big wick on either side. I think that's interesting, or at least it's a good starting point for today's analysis, because it gives me some sense of where we are in the cycle, right? So now, let's do some measuring. Over on this side, the body of the drop candle and the pattern on the left, the body of the drop candle is $1.40. So the thickness of that black bar is the equivalent of $1,400 per contract. Now over here, just approximating, Tim, do you notice what the size of that body is? It's identical, pretty much, right? Okay, now the wick, the candle on the left, is on the top. It's about 50 cents. Over on the right, the wick is not on the top. The wick on this one is on the bottom, which is fascinating. I'm fascinated by all this stuff. I don't know about you guys. If we stop right there, that would be cool, right? But we're not going to stop. So we're going to come down. This one is 31 ticks, the size of the wick. So the overall size of the candle, Tim, I don't know yet. Tim writes, is that an inversion? I don't know yet. Now, but Tim, we noticed, Tim Voigt, we've established that there is a pattern that's replicated off to the right, and that so far we've discovered 4 similarities. There was a phase 4 underneath the head. There was a large drop-down candle and an indecision candle after that. And all 3 of those elements have reappeared. And now we know the size of the body of the candle was identical. So there's 4 elements here that are all based on time that should not have any similarities whatsoever, but do. Okay, so Tim's correctly already starting to wonder, well, what's it going to do next? What is it going to do next? Okay. Any other similarities that you see so far? Okay. So the big question is, where does it go from here? Where does it go from here? Okay. Any guesses? Any thoughts about where it goes from here before I continue? Derek says it's going to go down to 42. Marco thinks it's going to pull back and then go down. Tim would guess another 2-day drop and then a short pullback and step down. Adam says I'm still on the fence. Okay. So let's take a look back. One of the things I like to do is I like to go back and look for patterns that are similar to what I'm seeing. So Adam, here's what I'm going to do. Ready? I'm going to come here. And we're going to open a new CL chart. And we're going to make time work for us. We're going to make time do the heavy lifting for us. And so we'll go ahead and pull this out. Then I'm going to add the same indicator to this chart, the Flux Daily Cycle Marker chart. And we'll take care of those daily cycle marker lines here in a second. And I just want to add a little body to that wick so I can see it. Okay. So Tim, I'm going to isolate a pattern. Adam, I'm going to isolate this pattern real quick. Whoops. Let's create a white rectangle here. Okay, and I just want to get rid of this candle too. If you'll bear with me just a moment, there's a method to the madness. No, okay, that's not going to work. Now, look at the elements involved with this, and look at what we're going to be looking for. We're looking for phase fours that have a candle body with a big drop. And then Adam, we're looking for the day after to have a bullish close spinning top. Make sense? Okay. So now what we'll do here is we'll take a walk back in time. And we want to look for when those conditions occurred. Does that make sense? Okay. Starting back with the previous cycle. Okay, and I'm gonna highlight them with a rectangle. And we'll make that rectangle, I don't know, a color that we can see, yellow. So, Tim, here's what I'm looking at right now. Phase 4 with a large bodied candle and then a blue bodied candle right after with a wick above and below. Can everybody see that? Okay. Now let's go hunt for those. Let's collect them and learn what we can about those. Okay, even if they're not identical, let's see if we can find the elements of that. Here's a phase 4, large candle down, and then a blue bodied candle just to the right. Okay, sort of found 2 of those, right? This guy, we're already talking about him. Tim, does this one match? Okay. Some agreement there, consensus. 1, 2, right here. Okay, so there's 3. Let's try to find 10 of them. 10 has a good sound to it, right? Okay, now I'm going to stop here for a second and make a case for this. If you combine all 3 of these candles into one down move right here. So Tim, if I took this candle, Marco, if I took this candle here, and I said, hey, what if all that happened in one day? Would it qualify? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we've got 4 patterns now to look at. How about this guy? One, 2, 3. Go back. Okay, so we need about 5 more of those. Here's one. One, two, three. I could make an argument for this guy. 1, 2, 3. Again, time is our anchor. That's what lets us look for it. 1, 2, 3. So one of the things that you should be experiencing right now is an epiphany of sorts, where you say to yourself, wow, there's a pattern here in August, and that pattern has this element of a red pattern, red phase 4 with a big drop down, followed by a blue spinning top / doji kind of candle. And so, Steve, you see those elements over and over again now that you're looking for them, right? Steve's able to say, look, fat guy, you missed one. But Steve, you see something, right? You recognize it. You can almost give it a name. Okay? Let's keep going. I'll be back. Yeah, Tim, you can look at anything you want. But let's see what we can find. Let's take a look at this one. It's going to be a stretch, but I want you to see what I see. What if we take all of these candles and we combine them into one black candle? One big bear run right here. You would have 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's get 2 more. 1, 2, 3. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make a database. And we're going to compare the ones we've found. 1, 2, 3 to what we're looking at here. And we're going to see which one most closely identifies with what we've got. August. This is back when gas was super high. We're $125 a barrel right there. That was the time, right? Good morning, Gary. What a time to be alive. Okay. right here. 1, 2, and there's the candle right there. 3. August 22nd, August 20th, 2012. So Gary, this pattern is from 5 years ago. What do you think of that? Yeah, let's keep looking. One of the things you look at when you see this after a while is crude goes down a lot at the red dots, doesn't it? August 9th, 17th, 20th, 24th. May the 4th be with you. Okay, nothing similar there. Okay, so now I'm looking for something very specific. We've identified a pattern. This is the current pattern that we're in right now. And Gary, one of the things I'd like to see is I'd like to see a pattern where the low of the next day was higher. And see if any of the ones that we found match. Okay, this one has a lower low, doesn't match. Some of you, I think, already know where I'm going with this. Gary, can you see here how this pattern has a higher low? Okay, so we're going to change this pattern from yellow to full-on magenta, because it's close, or fuchsia rather, because it's close. Big drop down. The day after the drop is a higher low. Okay, based off of that, looks like a bullish reaction, but we'll come back to this. Come over here. Let's take a look at this one. I didn't circle it, but at the beginning of the llama pattern, can everybody see this right there? Red candle, big drop down, blue bodied candle right after it with a higher low. Let's go ahead and make that one full on magenta. That one, Tim, appears to have a bullish connotation to it, right? Let's keep going. This one does not qualify. It had a lower low on its spinning top day, and then it dropped. This one had a lower low, and then it went higher. Okay, but it doesn't qualify. Where's our next rectangle? Okay, so this one has a higher low, and it dropped. It broke through the low and dropped. So we'll go ahead and make this one magenta. So now they have those 4 elements in common where I'm making the boxes magenta. This one does not have a higher low, it has a lower low on the blue candle, so it doesn't get to cross over to magenta. This one has a lower low, or no, it has a higher low. Okay, so this one qualifies. See that, Gary? Higher low. So that's going to qualify. I've got about 20 minutes till Crude opens here, so I want to be done before that. That one doesn't qualify. That one doesn't qualify. This one does. Higher low on the inside bar day. Magenta it is. Okay. And no. And yes. Higher low. And no. 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 And that's it for a while. Okay. So now let's do this. Let's go find our magentas. And bring them home. So I'm going to scroll back. I'm going to take this and just copy it real quick. I'm going to paste it to a document over here. We're going to go do that with every one of these. Right here. And I want to put them all side by side. We're basically doing what the Flux does automatically for other stuff, right? We're looking at the past. We're analyzing the patterns at a certain time and making an educated guess about what happens next based off of the recurring pattern that we discover. Here's another magenta. I'm going to paste it over here. There's another magenta. I'm going to paste it over on my document on the other monitor that you can't see. Okay, we've got 6 patterns now to work with that are magenta, and that's everything. Okay, So here's what I got. These are the patterns that we found over the past where those specific conditions were valid. Okay, so moving from left to right, let's get my arrow tool here. You'll notice in the first pattern we had the higher low, all three elements, red dot, drop, inside bar. Red dot, drop, inside bar. Gary, where does it go? The next day it goes here. It goes to the top, right? Okay. On this pattern, we'll move over. Big drop, inside bar. Now look, goes back to the top of the drop bar. Next day, next pattern, red circle, big drop candle, inside bar with a higher low. Where does it go? Okay. Pattern number 4. Red candle, big drop down, higher low, inside bull bar. Where does it go? Okay, so that's 4. Now, this one I'm going to ask you to take a small leap with me. Tim, I'm going to call that doji candle the same candle as our blue candle. This one here, I'm going to refer to it as our blue candle with the higher low at the second day, right? There's our higher low. And where does it go? If that illusion is true, it went back towards the high of the drop down bar the next day. Okay. There's only one pattern that doesn't do it. This one right here. There's only one pattern that doesn't do it. This one right here. This one drops. If it breaks the low on the next day, where does it go? If it breaks the low on the next day, it drops. Sure. So, what are we expecting over here when the market opens in 15 minutes, if that's the case? There's the potential for up. Marco, how do we know if it's going down? Right here, brother. That's the switch. If it breaks the low of the previous day, this pattern is going to continue down. Or there's a high likelihood, because we don't know. We don't know anything for certain. Death, taxes, those are the things you know with certainty, right? Okay. Any questions about that analysis? Oh my God. It's looking pretty good, right? Who's up 57 ticks? This guy. How did we know? Because of this. That was a killer analysis. I'm only mad it didn't pull back and get my second contract. But in each of these examples, you can see we were expecting the reversal back up. In each of these examples, this is going back years, using nothing but the time cycle marker, we were expecting it to go back up. And Jason, in each of those examples but one, take a look, ready? There's the high of the down move right there. Here's the high of the down move right there. Here's the high, or the open of the down move is what I meant to say. The open of the down move. The open of the down move. The open of the down move. So in each of those examples that we were able to find using the time cycle markers this morning, we basically knew coming into it that there was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 chance. What is that? An 83% chance that the market makers were going to push up back towards the high of the drop down candle before the close of the day. At least, what, 80% of that move? 90% of the high? So in our example, where's 90%? Right, Jason, if we took that same picture that we were just looking at right here, right? Where's the black line? Right there, right? And I'll bring my yellow arrow in, just like over here, right? We're not even close yet. So, great analysis this morning on CL. Thanks for taking part in that with me. I'll try to get the video downloaded here after lunch, and I'll cut out all the stuff in the middle.